You've probably heard a lot of people talk about their daily routines, and then you copy them. But most of the time, you still fail. But what if I told you there's one thing that brain science has proven can change everything in your life? Just one thing. Would you believe it? The thing I'm talking about here is neuroplasticity. First, we need to know what neuroplasticity even is. Neuroplasticity is actually a concept used in brain injury recovery, and it was first mentioned by William James in his book, The Principles of Psychology. In it, he said that if an action, thought, or reaction is repeated enough, it can become a pathway in the brain and behavior. To put it simply, it's like this. Humans can be reshaped by experiences and habits. Sounds so easy, like a kid can eat anything in front of his face, but let me explain more. We need to look at how neuroplasticity works first. With people who have experienced psychological trauma, psychologists often make use of the brain's ability to reorganize itself. First, they create new neural connections, then strengthen the pathway, shift functions to another area, and finally repeat that neural connection. Now, let's switch back to us. Everyone knows that doom scrolling in the morning makes us dumber and makes it harder to run our daily tasks. Everyone knows that, but not everyone actually does anything about it. And that is because of one pretty simple reason: dopamine and neuroplasticity. When you pick up a bad habit like doom scrolling or playing video games, even though you know you still have work to do, your brain releases a lot of dopamine. This is not a happiness hormone. It is a motivation hormone that pushes us to keep doing something. But the thing about it is that it doesn't really have a stopping point. Every time we take it in through one game or 30 minutes of scrolling TikTok, dopamine shoots up. You feel excited and you want to do it even more. Then, when you come back to your daily work, your dopamine level drops, also known as a dopamine crash. That is why after you scroll TikTok or play games, we feel extremely sluggish and don't want to do anything anymore. We feel bored and sleepiness comes back again, even though we know there is still a deadline. Repeating the bad behaviors I just mentioned will make your brain become smoother. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you become stupid, even though that is kind of true. But this is when neuroplasticity does exactly what it usually does. It creates a pathway that makes it easier for you to return to that bad habit. It gets really bad if, before you repeat that bad action, there's a cue sound attached to it. For example, in the past, when you opened your eyes, you heard your alarm. You immediately turned it off and opened TikTok. Then that alarm sound could become your cue. So every time after that, whenever you hear that cue sound, the first thing you remember is the way you scroll your phone. At this point, habits become harder and harder to change if we don't know how. And you already know this. Every action we do every day will affect our life later. This is not red pill, but it is the truth. You can't let trash flood into your brain and still expect yourself to have the right mindset. So how do we change it? Apply what I said above and imagine yourself like a psychology patient. You hear the alarm, you open your eyes, then you doom scroll. Start with the cue first. According to an article from Springer Nature, a signal sound can create a behavioral loop. Change your old familiar alarm sound into a new alarm sound. If you say, "I don't set an alarm," okay, good. Now that will become your new cue. Next, identify for me one action that you can repeat without changing and that costs the least brain energy at the start of the day. Something you can do immediately, day after day, as fast as possible, and don't change it for 21 days. For example, you wake up with the cue I just mentioned. Right after that, what you do is brush your teeth, then sit at your desk and write your to-do list immediately. This may sound like self-help, but hidden behind it is science. When you reduce bulky things like, should I go for a run in the morning? Or, should I brush my teeth first or fold my blanket first? These things sound useless, but they actually affect the image of neuroplasticity a lot because they create friction for you. Nobody wants to waste energy on hesitation, and neither does your brain. When you give yourself too many choices, the best choice for your brain is to save energy. And then doom scrolling continues again. You still can't change the old habit. Reducing friction and energy for a new habit makes it easier to do. So be a little more practical next time. Of course, what I said above is only one small problem, but you can apply this neuroplasticity of the brain to almost everything in life, from mindset to your relationships, with the same general formula. And of course, nothing can guarantee everything because it also depends on the environment around us. So if you like this topic and are curious about how to build a good environment so you can become even more productive, leave me a comment below. And this is Ma. I always make content about productivity through a psychological lens. No red pill and no toxic hustle culture. Maw signing out. Stay sharp, stay weird.